You have dew claws. There you can see it. That is the most important. Well, can you see it? Just above the... Can you see it? Oh, it's just turned. She's going to turn all the way over and not show it to us. It's kind of like that thing quite high up on the wrist, which is the most important claw. There we go. You can see it right in the middle of the screen now. That sort of inside toe. That one Fergus is focusing on right there. You can see a pad just to the left of it, and there's a little pinch there. The claw comes out of that. That is a very important claw when it comes to catching and pulling down. There, you see where that pad is on the top left. There's that pad just to the right of that and up. Whereas the dew claw is inside there. It's kind of quite high up on the wrist, sort of like our thumb would be. If you consider the four toes you can see there of the lion, and then that pad high up on the top, that is essentially what would be the thumb or the big toe on the foot, and the claw comes out of that toe itself. Very important when it comes to grabbing and pulling down prey. I've seen a lion do a backward somersault as an impala jumped over its head, and just the dew claw caught the inside of the impala's leg and managed to pull it down. Very, very sharp, those claws, and it's the one and only claw inside the cheetah that is sharp. Okay, well, let's go over to Tristan, who has got a warthog. Well, it's not every day that you get to see one of these guys on foot at this proximity. It has got to be one of the biggest warthogs that we have out here. It's a huge male warthog that is standing, I would say, 20 meters from where we are, and I'm super surprised that it hasn't run away. It's probably, like I say, one of the most relaxed individuals that I've ever seen on foot. He's just sitting there watching us at the moment. Isn't this cool? Now, I think it's undecided as to what it wants to do. It kind of wants to walk where we are. Maybe it's got a little house or a little termite mound that it wants to get into that's in our direction, and that's why it's not sure as to what it wants to actually do, whether it wants to run or keep coming forward. But you can see it's taken a few steps towards us. Hopefully it doesn't actually charge us. That will be very upsetting if it does, because it won't be that much fun to be charged by a warthog. Jean-Ray can tell you firsthand what it's like to be chased by a warthog. When he went towards a hole, Herbie's laughing next to me because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. Jean-Ray once went past a termite mound and a warthog, twice actually, isn't it, Herbie? Twice, yes. That he kind of... warthog exploded out and almost took the legs off Jean-Ray. And you can imagine with those guys with those huge tusks how much damage they could do. Now, Magic Dragon, it is a standoff. It's a very big standoff at the moment, and I can promise you that a warthog is quite an intimidating creature at that size. It's a lot bigger than people think. Everyone always kind of sees warthogs and thinks that they're these small animals, but this guy is big, big, big. He probably comes up to well over my knee in height and is built just like a solid unit. And you can see he's actually coming closer. Isn't this incredible? I wonder what it's doing. It's almost like it wants to come and say hello. Do you think if we stand here for long enough, it might even come closer? It might, actually. It looks like it wants to. Here we go. Look, it's coming closer. How cool is this? That's amazing. I'm very surprised that this warthog is coming as close as it is. And like I say, it really is no more than 20 meters from where I am. In fact, even maybe less. It's very, very close to us. And it doesn't seem too concerned at all. It's kind of taking steps closer just to see what's going on. It's not really too worried. Every now and then it lifts its head a little bit, but our scent is not blowing anywhere towards us. The scent is now coming from its right side to its left side, and so we're not going to be blown towards it at all. So it's just kind of watching us, and because we're standing still, I think it doesn't really know what to make of this whole situation at this stage. It's not really used to people probably standing watching it for such long periods. Absolutely fascinating. Now, you know, as with most of the time, even with the vehicles, that these guys typically put the tail up and run away. And so I'm very, very shocked that this warthog is as close as it is without moving away. Are you going to come closer, boy? That's incredible. I can't believe it's coming closer. What's wrong? I want to see if maybe... There you go. You can see even with VM moving a little bit, it's still not actually running away. It's still standing right there. That's insane. I would have thought it would have run long ago. Now, I wonder if this guy, like I say, just wants to get past us towards a termite mound where it wants to go home. Warthogs are fairly intelligent. I don't know if they're as intelligent as a normal pig, but they are fairly intelligent creatures. The way that they work things out is pretty amazing, and they do have a very good array of senses as well. Great sense of smell. Their eyesight is not too bad, and their hearing is pretty good as well. That's how they're able to detect things like leopards. Remember, leopards hunt them regularly, and so they need to be on top of their game to figure that out. And they're also pretty good with figuring out ways to find food. I find, though, that bush pigs seem to be a lot more show a lot more intelligence than what these guys do. Bush pigs are really animals that kind of often will figure out problems and are apparently very difficult to keep out of farm areas. So they cause a lot of havoc with people that have farms, and even though they try and do all kinds of things to keep bush pigs out, they find a way through. So I don't know if warthogs are as intelligent as bush pigs, but they're definitely not stupid animals. Although this guy, I don't know what's going on. Like I said, it's the first time for me to have a warthog stand this long on foot that has in the Sabi sands. Normally they are gone a long way. I've seen warthogs like this on foot in other areas of South Africa. So in the Kruger Park on the Skukuza golf course, I've seen them like that. And in certain camps where there's grass that grows in the camps, they'll do that. But out in the bush like this, first for me. Herbie, have you ever seen this before? Herbie's also saying to me that this is the first time that he's seen a warthog this relaxed. It's absolutely ridiculous. So we're going to sit here a little longer. We'll see if this warthog gets any closer. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Steve.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, hopefully, or maybe, a warthog will come meandering into this sighting. I was once on a walk, and we were on a bit of a game path in quite a thick sort of vegetated area, or should I say a riverine area with tall trees, and this warthog came sauntering down this game path towards us. We just all sat down and kept very still, and the warthog got to within about maybe 4 or 5 meters from us before realizing something was amiss. But it took a while for it to realize that anything was too much amiss before it moved off. So that was quite a marvelous thing to see. But as it got closer and closer, the tusks got bigger and brighter and more sort of dangerous in their look. And so it definitely was something, when it got closer and closer, you start thinking, is this a good idea? Because when an animal suddenly gets too close, where the only option is to either run away or to defend itself, you would hope the warthog chooses the first of those options. Oh, that was very hard work for that young male. Still too early for him. Oh, way too early to be getting up. We thought they were getting up and going to move, and all they've done is move about 30-odd yards towards the road. Not quite sure what the movements were, but there they are. And now all very flat lions, still digesting the remains of their kudu from last night. As a few drops of rain start to fall down, we are now very fortunate that we put on our roof. Any of you out there heard the term monkey's wedding before? It's something I grew up with knowing very well in Johannesburg. You get the light shining, or in the afternoon you get these beautiful sunsets, and as the sun is setting you get rain. And we always call that a monkey's wedding, because it's raining above your head but yet the sun is shining, which is what you would assume at a monkey's wedding, for everything to be upside down. You know it too, Bex. I don't know where it comes from, but I've known it from a child. But I assume it's got to do with the fact that at a monkey's wedding everything would be a little bit upside down, hence the rain on a sunny day. Is that a Alanis Morissette song? I don't know. And you can still see she's relatively full. Bex is suggesting that Ferg and I do some karaoke. I don't think that's the best idea at the moment, Bex, but I have no doubt at the end of the show you're going to give us another sing-along on the radio on our drive back, like you did that Elvis song last time, which was a marvelous attempt. Yes, she is. Now that is Amber Eyes there. She's quite easy to identify on the belly. She's got four very noticeable mammary glands present. And she is the only lioness of this pride, I believe, that has yet to successfully rear any cubs. I know the other female, the younger one, she's had some difficulty with her cubs with white muscle disease, and now with her remaining youngster disappearing with the arrival of the Avoca males. We can only assume that it is related to that. It is what the males would have done. Very sad, to be honest, but you can see there's Amber Eyes. Beautifully round tummy of her kudu. And so while we look at our lions longer, let's go over to Taylor with a perfect sunset.
It is magical, Steve. It's so stunning. The colours that we are blessed with this afternoon are just incredible. Pinks and oranges and yellow. Actually, some parts of the sky actually look like liquid gold. And just when I thought we weren't going to get much of a sunset, haha, nature's gone and made me look silly, like it loves to do. With, of course, a very straight road that you would have seen before. That was Buffelshoek boundary that we're on. Isn't that gorgeous? I feel like this needs... Bex, we welcome to sit quietly. Unfortunately, there's not even a bird chirping. Do you want to hear how quiet it is? It's actually a bit eerie. That's weird. Every now and then you can hear the odd sound of arrow-marked babblers. There are a couple of things, but it is deathly quiet out here. Couple of birds chirping, but further away in the drainage lines, I think trying to stay nice and warm, stay sheltered. There aren't too many birds sitting out in the open, all exposed. It's going to get dark relatively quickly tonight with all the clouds that are around us, but that is absolutely gorgeous. Wow. We're lucky, hey? We definitely do get the best sunsets and sunrises. They're so much more dramatic here. First Lady, oh, you're too sweet. I'll pass the messages on to the clouds for you, but you said that that's the most stunning orange cloud you've ever seen. It is lovely, and there are a couple of clouds sort of... Well, there's a gap. There's a cloud layer just above the horizon, and then it's sort of fairly open with a few wispy cirrus clouds, and they are like liquid gold. Look at that. They really are like liquid gold. Linda, I don't know if this is the calm before the storm. We've just been having the storm for the last few evenings. Last night it poured with rain at about 11 o'clock. No thunder, no lightning though, but just a torrential downpour, and it was sort of on and off for a few hours. I don't know if there's more rain brewing. We seem to be getting it quite late at night. Although, I'm going to show you how dramatic it is. So if we look further down to the south, look how beautiful that is. And now we're going to see how grey it is and miserable. There's the aerial as well. As you can see, we're just looking at the back of the car. That doesn't look too good. That doesn't look very nice at all. I would assume we're going to get more rain, and I hope we do. I really do. It's the greenest I've ever seen the Sabi sand before. I mean, Brent and Tristan and Steve are the ones that can really do most of the commenting, as they've worked in the Sabi sand many, many years prior to this. But when I arrived in the peak of the drought. Wasn't very pretty then. Wasn't nice at all. But that was lovely. What a beautiful moment. We've had all sorts of weather coming through today. We've experienced it all. We've almost been blown away. We've almost frozen to death. We've been rained upon, and now we've been blessed with a lovely sunset, which is quite nice. So, not so bad. Well, it's as though the theme cold weather is with the Lions today, as Steve has got two that are all huddled up.
And you're back with us, and we have still got some very flat cats. So there's some comments about the greenery of the Sabi Sands and these areas, you know, the Kruger National Park and the greater surrounds go through dry and wet spells. They talk about 18-year cycles, and we've come from a dry cycle, and we're looking to go back into hopefully a wet one. And to be seeing the Sabi Sands this green this time of year, I don't know if it's uncommon, but I think everybody's used to it being so dry. The last few years has been very, very dry down here, and it's nice to see a bit more rain. Hopefully it will build up the insect populations, because as we've noticed, there hasn't been a huge bloom of insects, as is normally the case in summer months. But with a number of years of drought, populations of insects will go down, but they are very, very quick to regenerate. And any ones that regenerated this year will have bred, laid eggs, and even the rain we're experiencing now will often stimulate them to recoup and to regenerate again. So getting another life cycle, another entire group going through, adults to eggs, and that is one of the reasons why we have got so many of the migratory birds still around, because the temperatures haven't changed too much, and there is still an abundance of food. So a lot of those migratory birds are staying around to fatten themselves up on insects like these lions have done on the kudu. But the birds need to build up their weight, pick up huge amounts of weight before flying ever north for breeding or not breeding. But it is, in my opinion, wonderful to see how green it is this time of year, and I know Tristan would like it to be dry again, Brent would as well, because it is much easier to find cats when the conditions are very dry and animals start to struggle. You get lots more drama, lots more activity. But we need to go through these cycles. These wet periods allow the herbivore animals to build up condition, to get stronger. Doesn't affect the lions too much. Just means that they don't eat as much as they would, because the prey animals are a little bit fitter than they would have been. Not for the kudu last night though. It's quite awesome to spend time with lions in their first attempt at a hunt. They are successful. It's not normally like that. Quite often they can hunt 7 or 8, 9 times and miss each time. I think the youngsters were hungry, because when we watched the adults go off-road, the youngsters stayed very still at the back, almost as if they had been given a warning. You move and you will not eat. And so they behaved very well, and they were rewarded for it. What a beautiful stretch that is. What a life, ladies and gentlemen. What a life. Flat cats, not a worry in the world. Not sure if you can hear the sounds behind us of the francolins and the spurfowl starting to come together for the evening into their coveys, to roost down for the evening. They've done their feeding for the day, and before the light fades and the sun sets, they will close down. And I can hear distance call of hyena in the distance. But as we have taken the precautions to have a roof, I believe Tristan is probably slowly going to make his way back to camp as the rain starts to come down on his head.
It is indeed. So off to our southern side, it's starting to look rather bleak out there, and so I think we're going to be in a situation where we unfortunately are going to probably get rather wet out here. So we'll just see how it goes. We're going to try and get home as quickly as possible. Obviously don't want to get the pack too wet, and we don't want a situation where there's rain all over the camera. It also makes Viam's job very difficult with the covers on, because he can't really get to the focus ring, and that makes life a little harder. So we are going to try and march our way home. Now, the hyena that Steve heard calling, we had it calling quite close to us. It's just here somewhere on quarantine area, so hopefully we'll bump into it on the way home, but I don't know if we will. It sounded like it was a little further south of where we're walking, so maybe it's either coming this way or it's heading back down towards the elephant carcass. Still lots of activity from hyenas, and if it's wet like this, I would imagine the elephant carcass might actually have a few hyenas go to it. It'll soften everything again, and all that stuff that's dried, even the meat on the bones, it'll soften up, and then it's going to become a situation where, you know, these animals can feed off it, vultures and hyenas and so on. So we might find a few of them moving that way. Also with the lions about, often these guys do kind of follow the lions and see what they get up to. So you never know, maybe the hyena will arrive at Steve's sighting, which will be quite nice. No, we are not far, like I say, from quarantine side, but you can see the rain is starting to thicken up a little bit. It's interesting how it's just kind of blown in as that sun went down. It was a beautiful afternoon at one point. We had a bit of sunshine, there was a little break in the clouds, and then all of a sudden it was just kind of, as the darkness descended, it just kind of sat, much like that mist the other day, and now it's this kind of fine drizzle, and this is the worst kind of rain for me. I know Steve was mentioning that Brent and I like the drier conditions, and it's not because it's easier to find cats. That's not the main reason. It's easier to find animals in general, but I just find that the drier conditions make what we do much easier. So it's much easier for our cam ops to be able to film when there's no roof or rain covers or those kind of things. And it also just, from a point of view of finding things and seeing things and filming things, drier conditions are a lot easier. That's all it is. It's not about cats only. It's about kind of a whole sort of thing, and I'm sure Brent will agree. Donna, I wish, but the rest of the crew has something against VM and I, and they just don't want to help us. So we asked for a lift because we're getting rained on in this darkness, and they just said, no. So Rebecca said they'll just leave us out here. So I don't know, Donna. You know, it's hard sometimes when you just get told no by somebody when you're pleading for help. No, I'm just kidding. They already offered us a lift, but because it's so close, we will. Apparently, I'm not going to get dinner tonight either. Don't put VM into this, Rebecca, because it wasn't VM's mind that thought that. VM's innocent. So, anyway, we are not far, and they did offer very kindly. Rebecca said Conrad will fetch us. And if it really started to kind of rain, then we'd just make a run for it home. We literally are, I don't know, maybe 300 meters from home, so it's not far at all, and with the downhill that we've got, it would be an easy run into home. So we're all fine, everything's going to be okay, and it's not that kind of rain, it's just this sort of moisture that kind of hits everything and makes things a little damp after a while of being in it, but it's not like it's going to damage things too much. Right, we're going to head off, and while we do that, let's send you back across to Steve with some lions that don't seem to be too affected by the rain that's falling.
They are not bothered, and it seems as if we are only getting spat on here a little bit. There's not much rain to speak of. So we do get what we call orographic rain in the Lowveld, which means it falls in very different places. Dale, the animals that enjoy wet and cold weather, elephants absolutely adore cool weather. They like moving around and feeding, rhino as well. When it rains, though, a lot of animals, especially the ruminating animals, will often find, the animals that chew the cud, will often find a spot to sort of lie down and find a patch where they can chew, where they can keep a warm or dry belly on the ground. And what I've often seen with lions and leopards is they just sit there in the rain and look very miserable. I've never seen them moving too much in the wet weather. They just sit down and sort of shelter themselves up. And most of your other hooved animals, the ruminants, as I said, the rain makes the ground quite slippery, so they tend to stay in place, chew the cud, drink whatever moisture comes down that's necessary, and just hopefully they don't get too wet. Lions I have seen shelter underneath trees and bushes, trying to keep dry, but there's really not too much they can do when it starts to downpour, and even their footfalls in the mud can be quite slippery. Some of the tracks we were looking at this morning of where they had crossed some of the roads were of slippery tracks in the mud. So their feet are better adapted for the mud than the hoofed animals, but they also don't move too much in the rain. They can't really smell or hear too much, so the hunting is all about sight, and it is quite difficult to hunt when it is raining, but shortly after rain you might find that. Was that an elephant? A hyena calling behind us. I don't know how I thought that was an elephant, but I only have one ear that hears the ambience, and that's that individual that has got an injured eye. Let's see if we can get in on that eye, Ferg. We were looking at it yesterday. It's got, I don't know what that is exactly. Her pupil itself looks fine. It almost looks like a tick, but I don't think it is a tick. It looks like she's got an injury to sort of like the tear duct area. I don't know. It looks uncomfortable. That didn't affect her performance last night, I don't believe. But definitely her right pupil, the one with that growth, is a little bit smaller than the other one. Ooh, wow. Look at that. Still a formidable female. That was a proper yawn indeed. So she heard the hyena, and I remember one of the evenings when Scott and Nikki and myself and a few of the other staff went out to look at the Nkuhumas, because this lioness was with Amber Eyes and the youngster, the smallest youngster that's not with us anymore, on quarantine. I think the whole pride was there actually. And this individual, she was the one who chased hyenas for over 100 to 200 meters. It was fantastic. Normally they just run and charge for about 20 meters, but she really gave it a good go. And you can see by her and these two youngsters' intentions that they're hoping a hyena is going to come. They would like to play some games. The two on the right, the youngsters, they would definitely like to play games with the hyena. I don't think that adult lioness will play any games. Excuse me, folks. Someone's just calling me on the radio. If you just give me one moment to find my radio, it'd be good. There it's on my lap. Standing by. Animals are still lying up, same position. So one of the people who went for a little sundowner to watch that glorious sunset that Taylor was showing you is now interested, I think, to come back and see the lions, which is a very good thing to do while they are sleeping. Cherry eye. I believe everyone's saying cherry eye. I've never heard of that before. Ooh. Sorry, the autofocus was not liking you there, Ferg. Cherry eye. I've never heard of that before. Is that an eye infection, or is that caused? I thought maybe it was an injury through. What a yawn from the male, maybe the fighting with the male. But if it's something that happens due to some eye infection, cherry eye, I've never heard of that before. But if that is something that happens to cats, then very interesting. Very, very interesting. Maybe she needs some of the Wandering Jew, the Commelina, this morning as an eye drop to treat that eye. That might be quite nice. I wonder if she would allow me to administer it without baring those marvelously sharp canine teeth. I doubt it. Amazingly resilient, though, these cats. Those of you who've seen that injured female with the on the rump, how she's managed to... Oh, there's another yawn. If she doesn't get up in the next few seconds, I'll be quite surprised after 3 big yawns. It's amazing how resilient they are to injury. Small things like that, how easily they overcome them. Come on, tell me you're going to get up or you're going to lick your face. That's more important. The never-ending grooming, as they will gorge themselves again in the coming days. Seeing them last night when I left them after that kudu kill, how from shoulder to nose they were covered in blood. And they spend the remainder of the day cleaning all of that blood off. It's actually a good indication of how long ago they fed, by how busy they are grooming and how much matted blood is still on the face. First Lady, it doesn't appear to be able to affect her hunting at the moment. I mean, the one lioness with the very badly injured eye, she seems to do just fine. And this lioness, I mean, she seems to have good reaction out of that pupil. It's just a little bit of an irritation inside. So, truthfully, I don't know. But as... Oh, that youngster. Just go left there, Fergie. She stood up and she just started urinating right where she stood. And she's practically urinating on her sister. That is revolting, young lady. You should get a spanking for that. That was not a very ladylike gesture at all. And now she's going to lie down again. Corin is telling us that cherry eye is a prolapse of the eyelid. Or the tear duct. Did you say tear duct? Of the nectating membrane. Very interesting. I've never heard of that before, but I wonder if you can add more to that and tell me how damaging it is for the eye, and if it is going to go away naturally or if it's going to affect her in the long term. I wonder. That's very interesting. Thank you for that. So now she's flicking her tail in her own urine. Aren't you a marvelous beast? Yes, she is. Looking very proud of herself now. Okay, let's go over to Taylor and see how wet she's getting.
We are rather wet, as you can see. You can't even see me. Look at all those raindrops. Sensor is now going to wipe the lens, of course. Let's get rid of them. Squeak, 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 squeak. Squeak, squeak. Look at that. Magic. I've got my hood on now because, well, it's not pouring with rain. It's a mizzle. It's drizzling. And it's weird weather because sort of in the east and in the south it looks horrific. And then to the west and to the north it doesn't look so bad. The clouds are quite high in the sky. It's actually fairly clear in comparison. So now, of course, we've got our spotlight out, as you can see, and we're waiting to find all sorts of nocturnal creatures. Maybe some honey badger and aardvark. Of course, being very ambitious. I don't think we're going to see things like bush babies and chameleons. It's been a bit too chilly. I think they'd be all hiding away in their hidey holes. Maybe a white-tailed mongoose would be quite nice. We haven't seen one of those for a while. But I'm still looking for that solifuge that I've been wanting to see for quite some time. I've had my fair share of centipedes over the last little while. I don't want to see centipedes, but I wouldn't mind a little solifuge to watch scurrying across the ground. But again, it might be a little bit on the cold side. And we did bump into some other safarians who were quite keen. They had all sorts of beverages to keep them nice and warm and ponchos on as they were doing their safari. I would assume they're heading for home though, and they said they did hear some hyenas calling a little bit further to the south from the big open plains behind camp. So I think that's the direction that we will be heading in. We're just going down Vuyatela axis now. We kind of did a bit of a boundary control, just a little TV one, and we found nothing. We didn't see any footprints crossing it. We didn't see any animals. What we did see, though, is two little heads popping up from behind Timbweti Dam, which is in Buffels Hook, and those heads belong to giraffe. But unfortunately, we don't have signal down in there. So maybe they move through into this area for tomorrow morning. It's been some time since we've seen giraffe. That's for sure. Ooh. Okie dokie. What we're going to do now is, because it's a little bit quiet and I'd like to hear from all of you, so ask me 5 questions. Easy ones, sort of short one-word answers, or that you would think would be a one-word answer because you might not know them. Hashtag Safari Live, or you can also ask them on the YouTube chat. Let's go. Let's get 5 questions in a speed round. But while you all sit and contemplate what to ask me, off you go back to Steve with the Lions.
Yes, we are back, and this little youngster has done a stretch and now is going to do the rounds of rubbing heads against all of the adults until it finds a partner that will clean it. There we go. That's what I was looking for. It's trying to clean itself. It's going to do some more licking of itself, but it's trying to clean itself, and then obviously those areas on the back, which are quite difficult to get to, that's when you need to find the assistance of mum. We are in infrared, so that is why the light looks like it does. And for some reason, the lions have stood up, and I don't know what they're doing. They suddenly are going to walk right past the car. There's the beautiful stretch. Ooh. Makes me feel good when they do that. Sorry about my head. I'm trying to also see what might be behind us. I'm sorry about my hat. I don't know what is behind us. The water is there. Well, she's going to have a pee. Little toilet ablution stop. Sorry about my head. I'm trying very hard not to get in the way here. It's just how close they are. Mary, the lions do know that we're here. They just don't know what we are. We're a box that smells of petrol and is green and makes a noise that they've become familiar with, and it doesn't pose any threat and doesn't provide them with food. If, for example, we had to feed these lions off of a vehicle like this, they would associate this vehicle with food, and then we would have a problem. But because they've received no negative feedback from us, then they basically just carry on with what is going on in their daily life. But if I had to step out, I mean, I have no door here. This lion is about 2.5, 3 meters from me. If I had to step out, she would suddenly see the bipedal human, the two-legged upright standing human being, and it would either cause her to run away or to attack, because suddenly I'm in a comfort zone, a critical zone. If any of you are watching this morning, you'll notice that we got to about maybe 40 yards from these lions, and they weren't really reacting too much. They've gotten quite used to being tracked on foot, but anywhere closer than that, they will respond, and they've got plenty of time to move away when you approach them on foot from a distance. But if I suddenly step out now into their critical zone, she will have to respond in some way, and it will either be a runaway or an aggressive response. So it is very important not to step out of the car now. And for those of you who've been on game drive before, you will understand that many times your guide has said, please do not stand up and do not show your legs, because by standing up, the lions suddenly see the human shape inside of the green petrol-smelling box, and it causes instinctively them to change their behavior. Because it's my belief that lions don't see things directly, they see shapes. They see an impala shape, they see a kudu shape, they see a buffalo shape, they see a human form. They don't see the definition of it, they see the shape. And as soon as that shape reveals itself, it causes an instinctive reaction inside their brain that they react to. They are looking up to the sky. I don't know what. Maybe the lions are doing some astrology this evening. Well, let's go back over to Taylor, who hopefully is not too wet, and see how her Fast 5 goes.
Fast 5, the pressure is on. I've turned the volume up so that I can hear Rebecca. I am ready. Oh, here comes number 1. Eddie Master! I don't know what the biggest hyena clan in Djuma is, because I've never seen them all together before, but I've heard reports of the Elephant Plains clan, which is in the northern Sabi Sands, not on Djuma, is the largest, and I don't know how many are there. I'm sure there are over 50 hyena around there, and I reckon that's probably one of the bigger clans. The Djuma clan is not as large as that, but again, I don't know how many members to that clan. But in the Mara, we saw massive ones. There was one clan that had like 150, which was amazing to really see. Right, question 1 done. Next. Dale, easiest question to answer of the day, so thank you for it. You've asked what superpower I would choose if I could have one to help me on safari. I'd talk to all the animals, every single one of them, from the fish to the frogs to the mosquitoes. I'd tell them how much I dislike them and the flies. And yes, so to be able to communicate with animals, oh, what a dream, what a pleasure. It'd be easy, super easy. I'm finished now. Now, Paul, lions and leopards, in fact, are often frequent visitors around the camps. I haven't seen a lion in camp. We have had lion tracks walking down past the vehicles before. We always have leopard tracks, and the hyenas are the ones that tend to come into camp the most, like literally run through and try and rummage through the bins. However, I have had lions in camps that I've worked at, on the pathway, at rooms, drinking from the swimming pools. So just nothing at Djuma just yet. On to question number 4. Ooh, First Lady, why, are you going to send me some that you're asking me what my favorite candy is? I'm not a fan of, like, sweets, like candy. They're not my absolute favorite. I like chewing gum. That I like a lot. I chew that all the time. Probably not very good for me, but I eat and drink lots of things that are not very good for me. Favorite chocolate. It has to be chocolate. All the chocolate in the whole world is my favorite. So there we go. Senzel, quickly, what's yours? What's your favorite candy? Also chocolate. If chocolate can be a candy, it's Senzel and I. It's actually the camp's favorite in general. And coffee and cheese. That's also... Dale, I can't tell you what the most common topic of conversation is in camp. No, I'm joking. We talk about a lot of random things. Obviously, we talk about work quite a bit, as you can imagine, because we live and breathe the bush and safari live, and now dive live too. So work is often a big conversation, how we can improve things, what we're going to do on safari. How was your safari? What you're going to do on your holiday, who you're going on holiday with, is another big topic. The countdown on when people go on leave, that's always quite funny. Everyone's last week, everyone's very excited, as you can imagine. We work long cycles in the bush. Ooh, what else do we talk about? All the gossip. No, I'm just joking. Only the squirrels talk gossip in camp and everywhere else in the bush. Sadly, our camp is boring. There isn't much gossip that goes on. Everyone's too well behaved. So yeah, I don't know. This is Bex's description of what happens in camp. We wake up early, we go to work, we come back, we eat breakfast, we then have lunch. Sometimes we exercise in between. Then we go to work again in the afternoon, we come back late, and then we go to sleep. Not always. Sometimes we stay up late as well. That's no secret. So we have lots and lots and lots of fun in camp. But I'm just trying to think. I can't think of one specific thing that we tend to talk about. Obviously, like I said, work is probably the biggest topic of conversation. But we're now on the middle of quarantine, the open plains behind camp. This is where Tristan had the honey badger the other night. So we're going to see if we can find them. But thank you for those fast 5 questions. I love it when we do that. But let's go back to Steve, who at least has got all the animals today.
Oh, beautiful shadows here as this adult and oldest member of the Nkuhumas starts to scent mark. Do you see her scratching her back legs as she urinated? It's a classic sign of territorial behavior. And yes, the lionesses are the territorialists of the pride, where the male lions dominate more than one pride, so they cover a far greater area. But it's important for these females to scratch every now and again and assert their dominance on their pride lands. And a couple of them started getting up and moving, 2 of the adult lioness, this one included. So we moved back to the 30 yards away that they were at earlier, and now this one has decided it's now time to groom. So the wind has completely died down. We're still in infrared. So what direction the lions will move in is very hard to say. I wonder if you can hear the hyenas. She certainly can. She's looking in the direction the hyenas are calling. And that's the look she said. That's what I think of hyenas, yes. Suddenly a little bit of wind came in there. You saw how she lifted her nose. I felt that breeze against the side of my face. Ah, it's a marvelous set of teeth you have there, my dear. And another lioness is going to come and join her. There'll be the characteristic head rub. If any of you've got domestic cats at home, you'll know your cat likes to rub its face against your legs. And one of the funniest things I used to see with my cat was how overzealous it got with rubbing its face, that often it would rub against the couch and then against the curtain, and obviously the curtain being a lot softer than the couch, it would often fall on its face, which was always quite humorous for me. You can see the size comparison of mum and daughter. Kalena, I've never noticed or seen a cat scent mark a vehicle before in my life. No, I've never seen that before. I don't think they see us as an object to scent mark on. But that would be a first indeed. Okay, so now that is number 2, lioness up and mobile. So I think we're going to
Screeching on that side.
start our engines shortly. Katie, there certainly is a difference between urinating and scent marking. You saw what she was doing there when she scratched her feet. Lions and leopards will scratch their feet on the ground to turn over the loose soil. And I don't know if you've ever dug in the garden before, but if you smell the ground, if you just put your face down to the ground in the morning, do that tomorrow if you like, smell the ground and then go and then dig the ground over and then smell it again. There's a lot more fragrance, there's a lot more sort of holding capacity as well. And so lions and leopards will often scratch their feet, turn in the soil over, and then urinate on top of that. Rhino do a very similar sort of thing, and that seems to hold the smell longer, and it also catches the smell on the back of their feet. So when they walk, it gives them something to follow when they are trying to find their pride members, or when male lions leave territorial trails, it kind of forms a boundary mark around their territory. The same as in the case of a rhino, you can actually follow that line. Well, we can't really, but another male rhino walking in will actually hit that barrier, almost like a wall, knowing exactly what's passed along that line. Whereas before we saw some of them standing up and just drizzling the urine down in a normal sort of squatting pose without the scratching of the back legs. Beautiful youngster, some amazing lighting, nice shadows, watching intently to see if those adult lionesses are actually going to be moving off. This is kind of the intention you see when the adults move off, the youngsters wait at the back. And this is what Craig and I saw last night. We saw at least 4 of the youngsters sitting like this in the darkness, intention in one direction, listening, waiting patiently, and then the kudu bark, followed by the running and the death bellow, which is always quite something to experience and so difficult to film out here in the thick bush of the Sabi sands. So you might be able to see most of the feeding, but to see the takedown, wow, very, very difficult unless it's in an open area. Okay, well, we're going to stay with these lions again, see what they get up to, and let's go over to Taylor and see what she's spotting with her spotlight.
Anything. We've actually just put our infrared light on, and I have heard the impalas making the snortling sound. Remember the new word snortling, which I will now be using to describe the sound that a rutting impala makes. It's a combination between snorting and grunting. It was an accident, but I like it, and I'm going to be using it from now on. So we're going to go around and see what they're up to, because they were making a big noise, and I'd like to watch them run around for a little bit. It's always quite entertaining, and we of course got the infrared light on now, so we are able to view them without spotlight and disturbing them and blinding them, or not blinding them. I've never seen a blind animal before from a spotlight, but they become temporarily disorientated, I suppose is the better way to describe it. Do you know that in Zambia they were so worried about affecting the animals at all that even on their headlights they had sort of a red film that goes across it, so it wasn't so harsh, which I found interesting because I've never seen that anywhere else. Well, that of course was only in one small part of Zambia. It wasn't the whole of Zambia. The Lower Zambezi National Park. Okay, where are you, Impala? Oh, there they are. I see them. I'm thinking we might have to zoom around towards the Bushbrae site. I think that's going to be where we'll get a view of... Oh no, there's some in the road here. Here they are. Now, something that that I haven't seen flying around tonight are the bats. So, Paula, yes, normally on hot evenings, we tend to see lots of bats flying around. You even hear them. A mixture of the insect-eating bats and the fruit bats, the mega chiroptera and the micro chiroptera, which is quite cool. But it's very hard to, of course, put them on screen. Okay? Well, I'm trying to find the best group here. Here's some. We're going to switch and... Oh, we're in infrared already. I wasn't concentrating. Here we go. Hello, Impala. Scan. The others are all coming this way slowly. Slowly running towards us. As they normally do, I suppose, just like you and I have a routine. Our routines may vary slightly. You'd probably be jumping in a car, driving through traffic to get to work. And I'm waking up early, as we discussed, game drive, and then game drive in the afternoon, and then bedtime. For the Impala, they start their day out on the open plains, and they end their day on the open plains to try and, well, keep away from all the predators. Although not that standing out in the open is necessarily going to help you, but I can't believe how this weather has just changed. I'm even starting to see a couple of stars, and the clouds seem to be breaking up quite a bit. Now, something that I like to do first thing in the morning, or when I jump out of the car after a long safari, is stretch, and the lions are up to that now.
First thing we do actually is a yawn. Then we get up. Then we do a stretch. Oh, I thought she was going to do it for us. She's going to go behind the car, and then you're going to see my head, and now we're going to see the lions again. They are slowly moving what seems to be right behind the car here, and they have stopped just over here. Slowly are moving. Okay, so they're moving in a sort of easy direction. We're going to see if we can stick with them again. Some of them are being quite lazy. The others are moving up ahead. Same as last night. Let's see if we can follow them for a little bit and see what it is they get up to. At the moment, I have still got lions behind my car. It's difficult for me to move. And they are listening to the sounds of the night, which I'm going to allow you all to do for a brief moment. It is a very still evening. I'm listening for the faintest of sounds. The wind we had earlier has completely disappeared. You can see the grass there in front of that female is just moving slightly. Wonderful shadows there. Okay, well, let's go over to Taylor and see if she can get one last critter for the night.
I really hope I can, Steve. I really hope I can. I'm still searching for the Salafuge, which likes to actually live up around here. I don't think it's the same individual. Maybe not. I don't know. Hard to tell. Haven't worked out the distinguishing features of a Salafuge. Hello, scrub hair. We do have a scrub hair, though. We're going to have to go into infrared to view it. There we go. And just see its glowing eye. Also very nervous being out here. Lots of big owls that would want to swoop down and snatch up a scrub hare. And of course, well, the odd hyena would not pass up the meal. A pack of wild dogs, although probably a bit dark for the dogs. But again, they just do what they want when they want. They don't read the books that we do. Maybe even a big python. I feel like this is snaky weather. Oh, last night we actually saw a giant legless skink, which was quite cool. It looks like a snake, but it's not a snake. That would not want to eat the scrub hare, though. The scrub hare will be safe from that. See, very, very jumpy. Listening out very carefully. And the problem is that we are not the problem, because it can hear us, and it will probably hear a leopard or a lion as it moves through the grass now that there's no wind. But those owls will sneak up from above without making a sound. Sophia is so cute, eh? Whether it is a boy or girl, I'm uncertain, but very camouflaged now as it's tucked away in those taller bits of grass. I'm just listening to sounds of the night. There aren't many. Can you hear the crickets? I think it's crickets. It's a strange sound. Now, Siddha, normally when you see these scrub hares coming out to sort of forage is in the crepuscular period, so just as the sun is set behind the horizon, that last bit of light. So you are quite correct in saying they do feed when the light is low. They thrive in complete darkness, so you'll see them most active like now. There's very, very little light left, but they will feel more comfortable feeding out in this way. You see they've got those big ears, and to be able to hear what's going on, and they can sort of swivel them from side to side independently. So they can listen to me talking nonsense about them, and then they can also be listening out for any potential threats that may come around. I think there's a couple of lacewings. Can you hear the hyenas? Very far away. Oh, I don't know if we're winning with audio today. They're definitely around. There's a couple of them whooping not too far away. Very cool. Okay, well, let's give it one last bash to see if we can find some honey badgers. I'd like to see them. I was glad that I got to have a quick glimpse of a honey badger the other day, though, when Tristan first spotted them, and then it sort of flashed out into the middle of the road. If we find a honey badger, I promise you we'll call you back within a jiffy. But off you go to Steve, who I think has the lions on the move.
Yes, we do. We have the lions. They're right in front of us. We're being joined in the sighting by one of the other guides from Djuma. And look at this, folks. Isn't this fantastic? We're being very quiet, sitting here, seeing if we can see or hear what they hear. What a cameo performance for these guys. Apologies for the poles, but we do have our roof on, and we are surrounded by lions at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, which is absolutely marvelous. There's a couple of little puddles just next to us here. Maybe I can just assist in lighting that up. It has been a fantastic afternoon. A little bit of rain, a little bit of sunshine, bushwalk with warthogs, leopards, Hosanna doing his thing. Look at that marvelous jump. That was an Olympic medal jump right there. It's been a marvelous afternoon from all of us here at Djuma in the Sabi Sands, myself, Fergus, Tristan, Taylor and Epsi. We do thank you for joining us on this marvelous afternoon game drive safari, and we've got the lions here, and we are going to say a good night to you, and thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you bright and early for safari in the morning. Have a good evening and good night.